Hi, I'm Ralph Lawton, and in this series of videos I'm going to show you how we built this simple hall table. Now we've marked the mortise, the next job is to cut the mortise out. Many ways of doing this, but we're going to do it by hand using a conventional mortise chisel and a mallet. The mortise needs to be 21mm deep, and to give us an idea of where that is, I've put a bit of masking tape on this chisel at 21mm. It's not meant to be a gauge, it's just to give us a guide. We'll take it down to getting close to that, and then we'll cut the other one, and we'll sort the thing out. Once we've got it finished, we'll clean up the bottom of the mortise. Doesn't have to be a work of art inside. I know we want to make it as nice and as neat as we can, but it just needs to be deep enough so that the tenons don't bottom out on the depth of the mortise, effectively holding the rails away from the legs, which will make it look rather ugly. We're going to start by working from each end into the middle, just chopping through the grain as we go, and you'll see that it will just jump out as we work through. Now, I'm starting 1mm or 2 away from the end, and the reason for that is that I don't want to damage this shoulder. I'll start there, I'll work my way right the way through, we'll cut the whole mortise out, and then right at the last knock-ins, we'll take that bit out back to the line so that we get a nice square shoulder. That'll just give us a bit of protection so that as we're levering further down, we're not rounding over that corner. So let's start by knocking a few chips out. We'll align the chisel in there, and we're not hitting this particularly hard, we're just giving it a tap. You've got to apply some pressure to the chisel itself, stop it bouncing out. Now I'll do a few of these, and we'll get the camera to have a look at what's going on here. I'm being particularly ginger here because I'm trying to show the process. In reality, I would probably be taking bigger chunks and hitting it a bit harder. But you can find your own level as you go along, what you're comfortable with. You see here, moving it further apart, giving it a good whack. It varies on the wood. I mean, this is quite hard, dry old oak, this. So, you know, you can give it a bit of a clout. If this was in something a bit softer, it'd be a totally different thing. Now, we've taken a few bits out that way. We need to carry on down to the middle, and we come back the other side. But I'll just show you a bit of the other side first. Okay, that's most of the chips taken out of the to the depth we want to be at, and it's quite hard work in good dry old oak. All we need to do now is just clean up the mortise a little bit. I'm just going to take the chisel at that angle, tap it along the bottom of the mortise, turn it round, tap it along that way just to give us a flat bottom, and then just do those final cuts on the ends. I might take a conventional flat chisel to the sides here just to take off any high spots, and then we'll be ready to cut the tenon to fit. So just a light pass along the bottom here, just tapping it. Most of the resistance here is not the wood cutting, but the chisel actually tight in the mortise, and it's much better to keep this nice and tight. As you can see, it is fairly tight in there. If that's a sloppy fit, then it means it's widened, and we want to keep this as tight as we can, because once we've established this width, we'll then cut the tenon to fit the mortise, which is why we always cut the mortise first. But I'll just clean out the other way here. Now you don't want to go too mad here, because we haven't got anything to protect that knocking out, and if I was to hit that hard, I'd knock the end off. Then I have to do it all over again. So when you're making window frames and other things where you really need to get in there, you sometimes leave that bit on the end and cut it off afterwards. But we don't need to with this. Just have to be a little bit careful, that's all. We're not close enough to the ends to worry too much. So now I'll just tap that chisel onto the original pencil line that I made, and I'm just literally tapping that down to square off the end. And you know, I'll pull the chisel away from that square shoulder, and I'll do the same on this end, just on my pencil line. Little tap to establish it, and just tap it down. And I was almost there with this anyway, so there wasn't so much material to take away at that end. We'll just clear the last little bit of material out of that end. Just nice sharp chisel. Pare that down. Just made that nice and square. I'm just following my gauge line here, just squaring that edge off. Nice sharp chisel always helps. You don't have the control if the chisel isn't sharp, and you can just pare that material away. Finally square that end up. So we just knock out the debris. It's not a work of art, but it's a functional mortise, and deep enough to take the tenon.